doesn't answer the question because, of course, you weren't using protection.
Well,
Of course, you weren't using protection. Why weren't you using protection with a guy you'd known for 8 months?
no, my daughter's father, we were together for over a year. Not
Okay, sorry, it's 12 or 13 months rather than 8 months. Not really the most salient part of my question, right?
No, you asked me how I got pregnant with my daughter's father.
Right.
Okay.
You weren't using protection, but why weren't you using protection?
I guess because we were young and ignorant. So
No.
the fact that
Did you not know how babies were made? You're 23 years old.
I did know how babies were made, it just
So you weren't ignorant, so why did you have a baby?
because my morals and values that was the only route I was going to allow to happen.
I don't understand what that means.
Abortion is not something that I...
No. Why did you not use protection when you knew that almost certainly it was going to make a baby?
I don't know. We just did not use protection. I'm trying to put myself back in that position, but it just wasn't, we both agreed, I guess, we didn't want to.
Wait, did he
I don't know
you weren't using protection?
Well, he knew I wasn't on birth control, yeah.
So he didn't want to be a father, obviously, right?
Yes, he did not.
Oh my God. Kristen, are you telling me that you weren't using protection with a man who did not want to be a father and was so retarded that he was willing to have sex with you when he knew you weren't on birth control, despite the fact that he really didn't want to be a father?
I did not know he didn't want to be a father when we were together. We were 23 years old. We were having fun. We were living life. It wasn't a conversation that had been had. And then when,
wait. But he knew you weren't on birth control, right?
Correct.
And you had not discussed whether you wanted to have children, but you were doing exactly what nature intends you to do to have children.
Yes.
You are not answering this question. I can't even have a conversation with you in any way, shape, or form if we can't even get close to why. This is a huge question, right? Because, look, I'm telling you, and the reason I'm asking you this is you want to get with a good guy, right?
Yes.
Now, do you think I'm a good guy?
I love listening to you, and I think you have really good points. And how you speak of being a father and a husband, yes.
Okay. The reason I'm asking you this, Kristen, is that a good guy will ask you this.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, the answers you're giving will make a good guy strap on his jetpack and take off to Alpha Centauri.
Okay.
You have to have an answer. Because
So
no quality guy, look, you already have a handicap in that you have a 6-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Right? I've done a whole thing about single moms, so I'm not going to go into it here. You already have a big handicap. If the other handicap is, well, I just got pregnant. I don't know. I was young. Well, you weren't that young. 23.
Honestly,
we never had a conversation about having children, but we were just having unprotected sex, and then the guy took off when he found out I was pregnant. Do you know that, if you don't have an emotionally traumatic reason for having a baby, you sound way too irresponsible for any sane man to date. But there is an answer as to why you had the baby. And you can't just claim, YOLO, right?
So you're asking me why I went through with having the baby after telling her father.
Why did you have unprotected sex? with a man you had never even discussed having children with. There's an emotional reason for that is not the woo girl potty time, young, you only live once nonsense that you're feeding me, right?
I guess because that's when at first we did use condoms, and then he asked to not use them anymore. And I went along with that. I felt at the time I was really responsible in knowing when I would be ovulating or my period was, but obviously that had failed me.
No. The rhythm method did not fail you. The rhythm method did not fail you. Did you look up what are the odds of getting pregnant using only the rhythm method?
No. I mean,
It's a human life, for God's sake.
No, because I just never have.
I think there's a reason there are 12 zillion Catholics in the world.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, I'll tell you. Let me just see here. Mike, can you start a timer? Hang on.
Okay.
Just throw my glasses on here. Mike, start a timer. Okay, Google is up, and I'm typing with one hand, not because I'm doing anything weird with the other hand, right? Okay, Mike, start the timer.
All right.
Rhythm of the night. Rhythm method effectiveness. Here we go. Uh, 75% effective. How long did that take, Mike?
23 seconds.
23 seconds. You know, if I was using my hand for something sinister, anyway. Okay, 75 to 87, blah, blah, blah. But it's very difficult to do it correctly, right?
Correct. Yes.
Now, do you know why any intelligent guy is going to be asking you these questions?
I mean, obviously they would, if they're going to put themselves in a situation with me, they would want to know, I guess, background on my decisions as to why I was a single mom so early, or what was my intentions at that point in my life.
Yeah, and that's probably got something to do with it. Have you learned anything from a mistake? Now, please understand, I'm not saying your daughter's life is a mistake. I'm sure your daughter is wonderful. I'm sure that you love her very much and so on. But it is a huge mistake to have a baby at 23 with a guy who takes off, right?
Yes.
Right? So,
yeah.
One of the reasons, if I am a guy looking to date you, I need to figure out what kind of gene pool I'm wading into here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Intelligence has something to do with genetics, right? And I'm going to sit there and say, okay, well, what kind of kid am I going to be raising here? And if my kid is half spawned by a woman who didn't take 23 seconds to look up the rhythm method's effectiveness before having the Bangathon baby making machine factory orgy fest, and a guy who said, I don't want to be a dad. I'd really like it if we had sex without condoms, right? Then I'm going to think, well, I'm going to have to wait till this kid's 20 to even teach her to tie her own shoes.
Yeah. It sounds like
and I'm going
really
to need to know, have you learned from your mistakes? Like if
yeah.
I remember going out with a woman back in my dating days. Man, she was tall. She was like 6'3" or something like that. I thought it was kind of sexy, but anyway. So I think we went on second date. We went on a second date. First date was nice. Second date, she says, oh yeah, I dated with this guy for like 2 years. He lived with me for the last year. And man, I came home from work one day and his stuff was just cleared out. I mean, he was just gone. And I said, wow, what happened? She's like, I have no idea. I'll never know to my dying day. Everything was going absolutely perfectly. And then one day I come home and he's just moved all his stuff out and I never heard from him again. And I said, well, it's been nice, but I've got to go. And she, called me a bunch more times. And I think I talked to her once more. But what do you even say? She's in a 2-year relationship. She has no idea there's anything wrong. There's some reason that guy cleared out of that house. And either she was dating a guy who was just completely random and had no idea, or she was such a horrifying human being to live with and date that he basically felt his best option was to sneak out basically in the dead of night or while she was away at work and leave no forwarding address and never be in touch with her again, right? Now, if she'd said, this terrible thing happened and I really thought about it and I did some therapy and here's what I figured out about why things didn't work with that guy and here's all the mistakes that I made and this and that and the other, right? So if you had a child at 23 with a guy who took off, then here are the challenges I'm going to face as a guy who wants to date you. Either there were underlying psychological reasons as to why you made such a mistake, right? Rather than look something up for 26 seconds or 23 seconds on Google, you entered into a $250,000 obligation. And that's just the money, the time. So either there's underlying psychological reasons, which, if there are, and there are, of course, but if there are, then if you've learned from them, okay, well, then but if they're not, like if there are no underlying psychological reasons, then your decision-making is appallingly bad. And your boyfriend's decision-making were appallingly bad. And at 23, you're only a year or two away from final brain maturity. And if you haven't learned anything, it means that your decision-making now still is really bad. And if there aren't any underlying psychological reasons as to why you had the child, then two people of really bad decision-making capability got together and made a child who is most likely to have a really bad decision-making capability. Do I want to start raising a child who's got really bad decision-making capability when they're 6 and after the age of 4 or 5, you can't be the disciplinarian or anything like that? Well, no. So this is why I'm asking you these questions, and any intelligent guy is going to ask these questions. And I'm telling you, if we were out on a date, this would, the check would have come 20 minutes ago, because you don't have any insight as to why you had a child in this ridiculous manner. And neither do you have any curiosity about your lack of insight.
Well,
now, I know you're an intelligent woman, and I know that there's a reason why you had this child, but you don't know that reason, which means you're dangerous to date.
No, I do know. I had a child because, in the moment, was that my intention? Obviously, I was partaking in something that the chances are very high of getting pregnant, yes. But once I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't going to have an abortion. That wasn't an option. So I was already
why not give the child up to adoption to a stable 2-parent family where they have the chance to give the resources to the child that you couldn't even dream of at the age of 23 as a single mom, right?
Because I had the support of my family at the time, and that I have a very guilty conscience, and that would have not, long term, that would not have benefited me at all. I
wasn't talking about it benefiting you. I was talking about what was best for your daughter.
And I feel that what I've been able to provide for her to the best that I can, and she isn't missing out on anything at this point. Her dad is a part of her life now.
Come on. Don't say that. Does she have a father?
Yes. Her father is.
Does she have a father in her life? Of course she has a father. Don't play games with me. No, does she have a father in her life?
Her biological father is in her life, yes. He came back into the picture.
You said he took off.
He did. We were never together after that, and he didn't speak to me until I was 5 months into my pregnancy, and then he came back. He was already dating somebody else, but he came back into the picture and said he wanted to be in her life. So yes.
When you were 5 months pregnant?
When I was 5 months pregnant.
And he is in her life. Does he split custody with you? Does he pay half the bills? Is that the arrangement?
He does provide financial for her financially, and he does see her every weekend.
But she doesn't have a live-in father. Does he provide half her upkeep?
I mean, I wouldn't say half by any means, no, but he does pay me support.
And how much support does he pay?
He pays a little over $400 a month.
Right. And he takes her every weekend, is that right?
Yes, he has her every Saturday, and then every other weekend he gets her Saturday to Sunday.
Okay. So, I mean, she doesn't get to see a functioning, successful marriage or partnership between two parents, and she has to have, of course, two places to live, and she doesn't have a live-in father to provide her guidance and all that. It's good. Obviously, it's better than if he'd just taken off, you'd never heard him again. But
correct, and I agree with you on that.
It's not as good as it could have been if you'd chosen the right man at the right time, right?
Correct, I agree.
And is he handsome too?
Yes, he is.
All right. So you still don't know why you had the baby?
I would say in that moment, I really wanted more with him. And I guess I envisioned us being together as a family. And
so you wanted to trap him with a baby?
I did not want to trap him. I honestly did not know he was going to react the way he reacted. He was so good.
No, because you didn't ask him if he wanted to be a father.
Yeah, you're right.
So you wanted to stay with him, you wanted to be a family, and you didn't feel that you were able to achieve that with your personality, so you lassoed him with some fallopian tubes, right?
I think you're wording it not how or portraying it how it was. It wasn't that at all. He had a lot of issues growing up. His father has never been a part of his life. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. To this day, if I never got pregnant, we would never be together. I know that for sure.
You would have broken up.
Oh, yeah. We would not be together even if I got pregnant or not.
Right. Did the boyfriend that you broke up with last year, did he ever ask you these questions?
No, of course, he's not going to get into any type of child situation when he had a child he didn't even tell me about.
Right.
Right.
So this is a good way. This is a good way to know if someone is hiding something. Do they ask you obvious questions?
Yeah, he never. I mean, the biggest thing with him and I, who I broke up with last year, is that I never felt he took the time to want to get to know my daughter, but yet he was so gentle and fatherly to his other daughter, because he has two daughters, one's 7 and one's 5. And so his 5-year-old daughter, he has a relationship with. And just seeing him with her, I just didn't understand why he didn't want to be a part of his other daughter's life. And I think it all stems with why he didn't want to really get to know my daughter, because how is he going to get to know somebody else's daughter when he hasn't even gotten the chance to get to know his own?
And do you know why he doesn't have a relationship with your neighbor's daughter?
He told me, well, they were never together. They were just sleeping together. I've actually talked to her as well. And she got pregnant. She was basically cheated on. She cheated on her boyfriend that she had with Derek. And when she found out she was pregnant, at the time, she didn't know if it was Derek's baby or Nate's baby. So they had to take paternity tests, and then it came out that it was Derek's. And then he obviously did not want her to have the baby, and she went ahead and had the baby and told him, you know, you don't need to be a part of this child's life. I have a man who's going to be here for me, blah, blah, blah. And so at that point, he was like, fine, if you're telling me now that you don't want me to be a part of this child's life, then I won't. And now 7 years later,
Wait, hang on. So your ex-boyfriend was screwing a woman who was having another guy's sperm swimming around, and she didn't even know whose kid it was.
Yes.
And when did you find that out? I guess after you found out that your neighbor's kid was the daughter?
Yeah, I didn't know any of this until, what was it? It was like October, either October or November of last year, when I finally, all the little pieces came together, and I confronted him about it, and he didn't lie. I mean, he was like, yeah, you're right. I know her. And yes, Maddie is my daughter. And then he told me, you know, why he's never been a part of her life. And his family has a relationship with her, but he just doesn't.
And what about the mother of the child he has a relationship with? What's the story there?
They were together for, 5 years. And she got pregnant. I think it was right around the time the whole court stuff was going on with the paternity tests or stuff with his older daughter. But they haven't been together since.
Wait a sec. Wait a second here. Hang on. So his girlfriend got pregnant when he was enmeshed in a paternity battle or a paternity question with the other woman, your neighbor, right?
I believe that's the timeline of it, how it all
So he
happened.
might have left to go be with his daughter, so then she decides, well, I'll get pregnant in order to keep him around.
That was kind of my way of looking at it, and I've asked him about that, but he says that's not what happened.
Right. And I hope to the men who are listening, listen hard, listen openly. This is how things occur sometimes. All right. Okay, so he's out of your life now, this guy, right?
Well, we haven't had sex since the beginning of July, and I hadn't seen him.
Wait, sorry, hang on. You broke up last August, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. And we continued to be physical since then.
Yeah, you said this the other thing too. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but you were saying, well, they weren't together. They were just having sex.
Well, I guess they weren't in a committed relationship. Yeah, it is.
See, if you're having sex, you're playing with the baby-making machinery.
Yeah.
You know, you are together in a way that is, I mean, unless it's super protected sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're having sex, you are playing with the baby bombs, and they're going to go off sooner or later, particularly if the woman has low self-esteem or is insecure and wants to hang on to a man who's drifting. Then she throws the baby noose at him, and then he basically stays or has to, or she can go after him with lawyers and so on, right? So this dissociation of sex from relationship, to me, it's kind of chilling. And so you haven't had sex since last month, is that right?
Yeah, since the beginning of July. But and this is where I've been seeing a counselor since the end of June, middle of June, and I've learned a lot in that process. And it just sucked because he was able to go out and have sex. He's had sex with 3 other women while him and I have been having sex. And
so since last August, he's had sex with 3 other women.
Yes, that I know of.
Are you having sex with condoms now?
No, we hadn't.
So is your next plan to just get some crotch-rotting sexually transmitted disease? Is that the next plan?
No.
Because that's likely, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Have you been tested for STDs?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he's out there sleeping with other women. Those women are out there sleeping with other women and other men, and I don't know what circus elephants or whatever the hell goes on in this part of the world. But all right. So your daughter still sees him around? Does she see him as your fuck buddy? I mean, is that what she's being exposed to? No,
she hasn't. She's not. We don't. Since we've when we broke up, we didn't. The last time the girls had seen each other, his daughter and my daughter, was December, and she doesn't. No, I don't expose her to him like that. We would meet at the gym to work out, but it was in a public, open area.
Okay, but so I guess you see the man when your daughter is at your ex-boyfriend's place?
Yeah, or if she's asleep, he had come over when she goes to bed.
Oh, so like total late night booty call, right?
Exactly.
And when she asks you, what do you do this weekend, you don't say, I had so-and-so over or anything, right?
No.
So you have to lie to your daughter, right?
Yes. I mean, why
is this? I don't understand why this is funny. Like, we're just talking about lying to your daughter.
No, I'm not. I don't think it's funny. When
you do, because you put these little giggles in from time to time. I've sort of let them slide for a while, but you put these giggles in from time to time. Like, this is kind of like a joke or funny.
No, I don't think it's a joke. That's why I called into your show. That's why I've been seeking a therapist, because I need to figure out why I've continued down this path and this cycle of choosing these men and getting myself in these situations where this is not the person I want my daughter to see or think that this is okay, this behavior for her. And it scares me to think that she's 6 years old. She's a very bright child, and I want it to end. I want to become a better person, a better mom. What was that?
What do you want to end? You said you want it to end. I just want to make sure I know what you mean by that. What do you want to end?
I want to end putting myself in positions to where I'm being hurt and I'm not being a good role model to my daughter, and I'm not doing myself any favors emotionally by doing this putting myself in these situations with men, I guess.
So you want to choose better men? Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The first thing to recognize is that the top tier of men are unavailable to you because you have a child and because you have a significant deficit in self-knowledge. So,
like, what do you mean by self-knowledge? That I don't know who I am?
You don't know why you have a child. The single biggest decision you have made as an adult is to have unprotected sex with a man you'd never even talked about becoming a parent with. And you don't know why you did that. There's a reason. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. But the single biggest life, I mean, look, having a kid is the biggest decision you ever made in your life, right?
Yeah.
And you made that decision disastrously, right?
Yes, I did.
It was the wrong time, wrong guy, wrong circumstances. There's nothing that could have gone worse in many ways, right?
Yes.
So the biggest decision in your life was barely even a decision. It was just a drifting towards inevitable disaster. The biggest decision in your life was a complete disaster, and you have no idea why. And that indicates to any man of any distinction, or any person, if you want a female friend, any person of any distinction, that you are a dangerous person to be around. Because you lack self-knowledge. And because you lack self-knowledge and even the curiosity, I'm glad you're working with a therapist now, and hopefully that curiosity will grow. But it means that you are not going to be stable and predictable and wise in your decision-making. I guarantee you, Kristen, if you went back to the beginning of when you met this boyfriend slash guy who's not really a father slash fuck buddy in the middle of the night, if you went back to the beginning of your relationship with this guy, when you first met him, I guarantee you that there would have been about 30 or 40 warning signs in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There was a lot of warning signs from the start. And
tell me the warning signs. Tell me the top 3.
Well, he told me he had a vehicle and that every time I would end up having to drive. And then probably 2 to 3 weeks into, or it may have been longer than that. It might have been like a month. No, about 2 months. Come to find out he has a suspended license from a DUI. He isn't allowed to even drive, so he never even had a car. And he lied to me and told me his car was in the shop and all of these other lies.
What about the very first time you met? The very first time you met? You're not talking a couple of weeks in.
Well, we met on the internet. The very first time we met in person was on Christmas Day, and I went to his house.
I thought you said you didn't meet his family.
I didn't meet. Oh, what did you say?
I thought you said that you didn't meet his family. Was his family not over on Christmas Day?
No, that would have been another red flag. He wasn't with his family on Christmas. I had already celebrated Christmas with my family, and my daughter was with her father, and then he invited me to come over. So I went over to his house.
So Christmas Day, he's got no family or friends over, right?
Correct.
And that's the first day you met?
Yes.
Now, you're smiling again, right?
No, I'm not. I'm just sitting here.
Now, did he explain to you why it was Christmas and he had no one over?
He said he didn't want to be around his family.
Did he say why?
No.
Okay. So when a guy asks you over on Christmas Day and his house is empty, he's testing you to see whether you can spot crazy when it's like a fucking searchlight in your face, Kristen. That is a very bizarre thing to do.
Okay.
Come to my house on Christmas Day, the most friends and family-oriented day of the entire year. And no one's going to be over except you. And I'm not going to tell you why. Yeah. That's some crazy shit right there. And as far as confrontation goes, you don't need to be confrontational. This is the great secret in life. confrontations are a red herring. People basically say, sorry, let me interrupt. Somebody has said here, I've been alone many Christmases, says someone in the chat room. I feel bad now. No, no. The point is not that he was alone at Christmas. Being alone at Christmas might have been the healthiest thing for him. Maybe he has some terrible Charles Manson-style family. I'm not saying that being alone on Christmas is a bad thing. But if I invite a woman over to my house on Christmas Day, I need to be cognizant of her expectations. Kristen, were you surprised that he invited you to his house on Christmas Day and that there was going to be nobody else there?
I guess I was surprised that yes, because we had only communicated via like text messages for like 3 weeks prior to that. So when he was like, do you want to come over? I was kind of shocked at first because I'm like, it's Christmas and my family's a big part of my life. So.
And he knew that, yeah. Right? I assume. Right. So, yeah. Well, I assume you talked to him after 3 weeks of texting or chatting or whatever you'd been doing.
Yes. I guess okay.
So the point is that it's a weird thing to do to invite someone over to your house for the first time you're ever going to meet them on Christmas Day and not prepare them and say, listen, I know that Christmas is a big family time. I know, but here's what's going on with my family. I know it might be a bit weird. I'd really appreciate your company. We'll talk about it. Well, right?
Yeah. I don't remember if he had already been to his family's house or he was planning on going and then I came over and he didn't go.
It's a weird day for a first date. Would you agree?
It really was weird. Like looking back, yes, it was weird.
Right. So you don't need to be confrontational. People make this mistake about confrontational. And they basically say, I have a crazy person in my life. How do I establish boundaries? You don't, because they're crazy. Right? I have someone in my life who doesn't respect boundaries, who's inappropriate, who is needy, who is hyper-judgmental, who is narcissistic, who is a taker. How do I manage that? You don't. Right? You don't. You ask the questions that keep these people out of your life to begin with. Mike, you've known me for a while now. How many crazy people am I managing in my life?
0. Big fat goose egg.
Big fat goose egg. How discriminating. How many resumes did we go through? How many people did we talk to before we hired the God-given glorious Stoyan?
Oh, I've gotten an absurd amount of emails. I can even put a number on it. Hundreds and hundreds of people that have wanted to work for the show. Yep.
Right. So sanity is not about confrontation. It's about filtering. Having a stable and happy life is about saying no to crazy people, not inviting them in and then hoping that confrontations are somehow going to make them sane, right? You can say heel to a well-trained dog. You cannot say heel to a mountain lion that's never seen a human being before. It is all about the filtering. A peaceful, calm, happy, stable life is all about the filtering. If you had asked your boyfriend whether he wanted to have children, if you had looked up the rhythm method, right, you wouldn't have had those children. Your daughter. It's all about the filtering. If this guy had invited you over on Christmas Day, and I guarantee you, if you look at those text messages, there's crazy shit all over that. And one of the ways you know crazy shit is going on is, I bet you there was a huge amount of sexual flirtation from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Of course there was. Because when people have something to hide, they provoke your hormones. When people have shitty personalities, they get your juices flowing so that you replace judgment with lust. Lust shuts down your judgment centers. It's supposed to, because there's not a lot of people who, when they really think about it, say, now is a great time to have children, right? Lust shuts down your reasoning centers. And so people who don't want you to think stimulate you with sexual display. And again, nothing wrong with sex, nothing wrong with cleavage, nothing wrong with all that kind of stuff that makes people look great. But in the hands of bad people, it is the inevitable weapon that gets you to shut down your judgment. And this is not even a theory, this is biological fact. Lust cuts off blood flow to the neofrontal cortex. Shut that shit down, we're going in! Don't disturb the reasoning center, we want to make a baby. I mean, all babies are basically undercover affairs from the higher reasoning centers. Almost all. Sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to say it's interesting that you bring that up because I've had numerous conversations with him, one of which we spoke last night, and I asked him, and I've confronted him about it numerous times as to why he feels the need to go out and find women to have sex with, like, often. I mean, to know that he's had sex with 3 other people and myself since October of last year, or August, or it was like September, August. I don't understand that. And his answer was he's thought about that, but he feels he can, he just can't say no sometimes. And the reasons why not.
Yeah. Oh no, these women, they have them cornered. They unholster their vaginas and they just shoot them through the dick. I mean, the poor guy, terrible. Terrible. I mean, like that pubic hair is just this giant Velcro wall and his penis is a cannon that shoots him out in a Velcro suit and he lands on that David Letterman sticky stuff. And what the hell is he going to do? Poor victim. Just can't say no.
Well, and I told him, I said, you don't understand. And I hadn't talked to him about this until yesterday. I just said, by you doing that, you made me feel less of a woman and you really broke me down. And like, I had this serious, like.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, I refuse to accept that he's making you feel that terrible. Why do I refuse to accept that, Kristen?
Because I put myself in that situation.
You're still there, right? That restaurant serves such shitty food. I'm going back again tonight and tomorrow night. Oh, I hate that restaurant. The food there is so terrible. Oh, is it open yet? I'm going back. Give me some money. Can't have it both ways, right?
And that's
if you're
what
going
I've been
back,
struggling with.
then he can't be, don't go back and grind his balls. If you're going back, then it's a net positive for you.
Well, that's what I'm struggling with is because I was the one.
Yep, she just dropped off. Let me get her back.
You can't fundamentally criticize people you're having sex with because you're having sex with them, right? So when he's having sex with you, I mean, assume he's bigger than you because most guys are bigger than most women, right? He's basically got you pinned down on a bed or up against a wall or hanging off a shower head or something like that, right? But he's thrusting in and out of you. He's got you in an intensely vulnerable position. He might have an STD, but you're trusting that he doesn't. He might hurt you, but you're trusting that he doesn't. He might be filming you from a webcam and uploading it to the internet, but you're trusting that he doesn't. So putting yourself in the vulnerable position of being sexed up by a big man means that you already trust him a huge amount and to a huge degree. And then to come out and say, well, you make me feel bad, I don't trust you, this and that and the other. Well, it's, if you eat at the restaurant, you like the food. Or you're a masochist, right?
So this is my question. I have struggled with, do I just not stop all communication with him and just end it? Or is there a chance that we can just remain friends?
Remain friends? What are you talking about?
Like,
what about this guy is even likable? What are you talking about?
That's yeah.
He lies. He lied from the beginning. He lied about having a car. He lied about not having a child. He lied about even having a child. I mean, he's a liar. Do you want to be friends with a liar? I'm not saying that's all he is, but he's lied a lot, right?
Yeah.
Listen, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with me. That's the price of admission to this conversation. You don't want to remain friends. Women never want to remain friends, and men never want to remain friends. You want to have a fuck buddy for when you're horny, and you want to dangle stuff. You want to dangle sex in front of him until he becomes a better person, right?
True. Yes.
Of course it is, right? If you know how you whittle something, you take a stick and you whittle it down into a beautiful carving. It's like, I will turn my vagina into a lathe and shave him down to be a better person, right? No.
Okay. Well.
Would you want your daughter to marry someone exactly like him?
No.
Why?
Not at all.
Why not?
Because I want her to be with somebody who loves her and treats her right and treats her like a queen, like she needs to be treated. Somebody who fulfills her and compliments her, and yeah, those are all the things I hope she finds.
Then why is that only for her, Kristen? Why does she only deserve that? Why not you?
I guess because I feel no guy's ever made me feel that way, so I continue just to put myself and play the victim when I need to figure out why I continue to do that.
Continue to do what?
Find guys who treat me like crap, or I put myself in those situations, those relationships.
Right. And if you continue to do that, the odds are that she will end up with a guy exactly like this guy.
You're right. And that's why I'm taking the steps now to seek out different things in men. Things that I want a father in her life that's going to be the type of guy she will end up with as well. And
the likelihood of that at the moment is low. And it doesn't mean non-existent, but it's low. But that doesn't mean you can't aim for a hell of a lot better than what you've got right now. What you have is a man-child, right?
Yeah.
Children lie that way, right? You see them, they standing by a vase that's in pieces at their feet. It wasn't me, right? It's all obvious, right? He's like a man-child, and most times it's children having children, and you and your ex-boyfriend were as irresponsible with your baby-making machinery parts as children are, with toys they don't care for much. So you're in a corner, and it's going to be very hard for you to attract a quality man. Not impossible, but very hard. But you have to recognize that you already have a hole called a daughter who has been exposed in her most formative years to not quality men, right?
Yeah, Derek was in my daughter's 6 years of living. Derek was the only guy I was seriously involved with that was a part of her life to the extent that he was. Other than that, I didn't expose her to.
And this was the ex-boyfriend? The one from last year that you were having sex with up to last month?
Correct.
Right. So if you stop seeing him, and she's going to say, why do you stop seeing him? And what are you going to say?
I told her that we broke up, and that we're just friends. And
why did you break up? What did you say?
If she asked why I broke up?
Yeah.
Or you're asking me why Derek and I broke up?
No, I know why you broke up, or whatever you want to call it. But
she has
when
asked
your
me
daughter says, why don't I see Derek anymore? What are you going to say?
I tell her that we're just friends, and I told her that.
No. If you stop seeing him, listen to what I'm saying. If you stop seeing him completely, which is your choice, of course. If you do that, she's going to say, "Why haven't I seen Derek?" And you should be proactive, right? I would say. But let's say you wait. What would you say?
That Derek and I are no longer together, and we're not friends anymore.
So why?
We broke up.
But why, Mommy?
Because sometimes people are meant to be together, and sometimes they are.
No. See, you're lying to your daughter again. You have to have a commitment of honesty if you want honest people in your life. You have this excuse called, I'll just lie to my daughter. Not acceptable. Have a commitment to honesty. You can't demand more honesty from Derek than you're willing to provide to your daughter. Don't have this back door called, well, people just aren't sometimes meant to be together, and I guess Jesus and Krishna didn't want it, so there we go. That's a lie. I don't mean you have to give her all the gory details, but don't have this soft excuse backdoor called, well, I'll just bullshit her.
Okay, so she's 6 years old, so I guess I don't know how in-depth I go with a 6-year-old as to why Derek and I aren't together. What do I say?
Well, you always have the option of saying, I'll tell you when you get older.
Okay.
But there are ways to explain complex adult things to 6-year-olds. I mean, she's 6. She's not retarded. So, I mean, I would say something like, well, Mommy made a really bad decision. I kissed a man who was a liar. And you know what's even worse than that? Is that I knew he was a liar from the very beginning, but I thought he was so pretty. And I liked kissing him, and I decided to kiss him, and lo and behold, you know what happened? He just turned out to be as big a liar at the end as he was at the beginning. I'm really sorry that I exposed you to